Hey everyone, welcome to Financial Revelations. I am David Szafranski, your host. You can see me on Twitter. Hold on, let me take this off. Dang it. Okay, I got a sore elbow. There's no getting around it. It's getting better though. Twitter, all that stuff, it's all scrolling below me. Phone calls, we take them. We'll talk to you if you want us to. You could meet with us. We'll send you a fact finder. We require everybody to complete a fact finder before we meet so we can maximize our time. I don't want to sit here and ask you basic questions when I could have that information. Sin of Retirement, the book, is out and live. You can get it at sinofretirement.com, soon to be available on Amazon. And you can also buy the Chaos, buy high, sell higher. I love Stepped Up Basis, which you should love if your parents are rich, because you're going to get that money at Stepped Up Basis. And there's shirts and hats. There's a hat that says, I suck at investing. We've got all new coffee cups for our clients here. The coffee cups say, I suck at investing. That's why you're here. We don't suck at investing. We're actually really good at it. So the audio book is being recorded right now. I got a little preview of the first 15 pages or so read. It was really, I picked this guy myself. Well, Melissa and I picked him, but I'm the boss. Everything stops here, kind of. Not really. And we're going to have a book signing September 4th, 6:30 p.m. at the Grind in Medina. And we're going to put a link below where you could make a reservation. You don't have to, but we kind of appreciate if you do, so we know how many people are coming. If anybody's coming, I don't know. Maybe I might be just standing there by myself. Wouldn't be the first time that's happened. So all that's going on, and there's a missions trip in March of 26. So if you're interested in going to the Amazon with us, you got to let us know right now. So we've had a few people call. I also, we like answering questions from listeners, watchers. So if you have a question that you want answered specifically, we have a little bit more time here we could take, and we can without mentioning you specifically. I don't want to embarrass anybody or, share your financial laundry with the world. So if you have a question, just email it, call it in. We'll answer it anonymously. We don't have to say, well, Joe from Oberlin said, how do I get rid of my massive amount of debt that I've hidden from my wife? We don't have to do that. We could just say, this is how you do it. So economically, it is a big week. The Jackson Hole Economic Summit is happening right now. I think it starts today and it goes through the weekend. And really, most of the world's economic policymakers are there. It's held at a private residence in one of the most expensive places in our country currently. And if you've never been to Jackson Hole, I've been there because we went to the Grand Tetons and Yellowstone. They're very close together, so most people do both of them at the same time. It's kind of like two birds with one stone. But you go to Jackson Hole, and it is a little astounding how much property costs there. It's just extraordinary how expensive things are. And now I live in the Midwest, so we're kind of normal, what I would call normal here. If you go to Florida or New York or Vermont or Idaho, places like that, California, real estate, pound for pound, is way more expensive there. It's one of the things about the Midwest that is really intriguing to people is how cheap it is to live here. And it's one of the reasons why people, when people in my business, they want to start in New York City and then get repositioned in the Midwest so they could sell a house there when you could. In the past, what you could do is if you sold a house and you took all the profit and dumped it into a new house, there was no tax on it. Well, it's not like that anymore. So it's not quite as a compelling case to move from New York or West or East Coast here, but still it is, because you get here and you're like, wow, I could drive someplace. I could drive 20 miles in 20 minutes or less. And you go to New York, that is not happening. And really in Florida right now, that's not happening. So people really like it here. I love it here. I don't, I know people don't like winter. A lot of people don't like winter. And probably, I don't know, it's like maybe March or so, February, March, we're like, okay, had enough. It's been cool here the last couple of days. Oh my gosh, it's so great. It's cool and rainy. I never thought I would like cool and rainy, but it's been a hot summer. So anyway, they have this symposium, this economic symposium in Jackson Hole, and it really is kind of a launch point for Fed theory going forward, Fed policy going forward. So there is a potential for Chair Powell to rock the markets this week. He's going to give a speech from Jackson Hole tomorrow. How would he rock the markets? He would say, well, we're not going to lower interest rates. He could come out and just be that blunt. And I don't think he's going to do that. I think he is going to signal that they're going to lower rates starting in September. Now, he's not going to come out and say that, but in essence, he's going to come out and say that. What does that mean? Well, they always they always want to kind of play close to the vest in case things change. But we have gotten a couple of employment reports in a row now that have been restated dramatically lower. So the employment market, now the Fed, you say, well, why does the Fed have anything to do with that? Well, the Fed has two mandates. Price stability, and that means low to moderate inflation. So somewhere around 2% we've chosen, and then full employment. And what is full employment? Nobody really knows what full employment means, but we think we know that it means somewhere around 4 to 4.5% unemployment. Well, an unemployment rate. Why 4 to 4.5% unemployment? Because half of the people that are unemployed, they're just not employable. They're either they're just not employable for a variety of reasons. We don't count imprisoned people in that, so we figure some people aren't even looking for a job. So at about 4 to 4.5% unemployment, we feel like we're at full employment, and there are cracks in the employment numbers. So what the Fed has done over the past, and a lot of this is under Chair Powell, is they've made DEI a mandate. Well, that's not their mandate. They shouldn't even be going there. They've made ESG, environmental social governance, part of that. That's not their mandate. They shouldn't even be going there. They've talked about climate change. This is mainly under the Biden administration. They have nothing to do with climate change. It's stupid to have the Fed involved in that. All they're doing is mission creeping, employing more people. They're going through a remodel project. I don't know if you saw this when, I love this. Our president, Donald Trump, has a way of exposing people in dramatic ways. And that's what he did to Chair Powell. He showed up at the construction site and got a tour of the construction project. They're putting a basement under a 100-year-old building. Just build a new building. It's so stupid. This is what happens when you spend other people's money. You just don't care that much. And that's what the Fed is doing right now. And so Trump shows up, kind of talks about the cost overruns, exposes the chairman. It was meant to embarrass him, and that's exactly what happened. So I do think the Fed's going to signal rate cuts starting in September, and they could go right now 1.5% and still be above the 10-year Treasury. So what you do is you take the Fed funds rate, subtract the 10-year Treasury. That difference is how much the market would accept right now in a rate cut. Not all at one time, but over a period of time. And so whatever that period of time is for them, they have to choose. But there's also one of the Board of Governors is under investigation, a voting member of the Fed, who they think abused mortgage applications to get better rates. So we'll see where that goes. My guess is that they're going to start hammering on Fed members that they don't like, if there's a way to do it, to get them off the Fed so they could put people on there that are less political. Because really it's a political move right now, not to lower rates. Now, we love to talk about the independence of the Fed, but I would say it's not really independence of the Fed so much as it's more like an arm's length distance. The Fed is very political. And people say, well, Trump is, abusing his power. Did you know that Lyndon Johnson once invited his Fed chairman to. Lyndon Johnson was from Texas. He had a ranch in Texas. He invites the Fed chairman to his ranch in Texas where he vacations, and he punched him in the face. It's a true story. He punched the Fed chairman in the face. So I don't want to hear Trump's too political with the Fed. It's okay for the president to beat up on the Fed. So that's going to happen this week and over the weekend. So there could be a little bit of news out of Jackson Hole Friday afternoon, which could affect markets next week. And I think it'll be positive, but we got to always hold out for it not being that way. So one of the questions we got this week or recently was, we deal with a lot of athletes and entertainers and professional coaches and people like that. Some very, very financially successful people. I mean, it's just the amount of money floating around professional athletics is astounding. It's just unbelievable sometimes how much money people have. So how do we deal with athletes and entertainers and people of that nature versus what I call normal people? What are normal people? They're like us. They work. We work normal. I don't really work normal. I have an abnormal schedule. But most people, they work a job. They get off at a certain time. They start at a certain time. They have vacation days, sick days. They contribute to a 401k, all that. So we work a lot with people that I would consider abnormal work schedules or abnormal income earning people, like the athletes, entertainers, and coaches. So what I tell people is, unless you're Solomon from biblical times, who was the richest person that has ever lived, maybe Elon Musk is approaching that number. I don't know, because I wasn't alive during Solomon's time. But Elon Musk is the richest individual that we know of right now, even more than the Saudis. But typically what happens is, without exception, people live on a budget. So everybody that we work with lives on a budget. To some degree, we know what their budget is. Now, if you had $100 million invested, your budget is probably a little bit looser, and you can afford to make some financial mistakes that other people cannot afford. If you live paycheck to paycheck and you make a financial mistake, you may not be able to overcome it. If you have a couple $100 million or $500 million invested, you could overcome some financial mistakes. You could buy a house and sell it for a loss and not worry about it. But you're probably going to live on a budget of some kind. I think everybody should live on a budget. Everybody. I think Elon Musk should live on a budget. Elon Musk doesn't even own a house. He sleeps at his factories, or, believe it or not, he couch surfs his friends' houses. Now, if Elon called and said, hey, could I spend a few weeks at your house? I'd probably say yes, but don't. Elon Musk has like 14 kids, so I think we know what he's doing in his spare time. I don't want that going on at my house. I go to bed early because I get up early. The other thing that I like to see people do, and wealthy people, by the way, they do this without fail, is they don't run debts on credit cards. They pay off credit cards. And I'm going to get to this in a minute, but the main difference between what I would consider the wealthy people and the other people has to do with debt. And really, everybody should have a financial plan of some kind. Where do I want to be in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? Everybody thinks they're going to live 20 more years. Even 80-year-olds think they're going to live 20 more years. Now, I'm 45-ish, but I think I'm going to live to be like 170 because I take really good care of myself, obviously. But what is your plan for the next 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year? Think short term. The one of the main differences between what I would call, and I'm not talking about wealthy people now, I'm talking about financially successful people. What's the difference? Well, you could be financially successful and make 30 grand a year because you manage your finances well. But if you're wealthy, financially successful, and other people who are not financially successful, is they tend to think about money differently. They look at debt differently. So they're financially successful or wealthy people tend to use debt to their advantage, whereas people who live paycheck to paycheck, their debt is a disadvantage. They're taking high interest rate loans. They're running balances on credit cards. They don't have an emergency fund. Every wealthy person that we work with has an emergency fund. They have cash that's accessible to them. Now, you could say, well, look, David, that sounds great if you're making, $10 million a year, but I'm making $100,000. I don't care. You could have an emergency fund. It doesn't have to be fully funded at one time, like right now. It could be over time, but you have to be shooting for those goals. That some of those goals, those 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year goals, to have. My first goal, if you don't have it, would be to have an emergency fund funded. So that means when your car breaks, you have a place to go. It doesn't have to be a credit card. Maybe you use the credit card because it happened on a Friday night and you needed to get your car towed and you need tires or something. That's a big one. That's a big emergency fund thing, tires. But you use your credit card, but you pay the balance off when the bill comes. And because financially successful people look at debt differently, they tend to not carry debts that are detrimental to them. They don't overbuy houses. They don't overbuy cars. They use debt to their advantage. And it's very easy to do. But the most important thing I think that wealthy people or financially successful people do as opposed to other people is they think long term. They're not all about right now. They forego things that they don't need. They just do a better job of planning long term. They're long term financial thinkers as opposed to short term fill a need thinkers. And I think that's the number one difference. Now, we've had people that make a lot of money that are financially unsuccessful. How could that be? How could that be? Well, they're always filling a need. They always think that if they buy this thing, it will make them happy. And that's the way they approach their life. So it wouldn't matter if they made $25,000 a year or $250 million a year. In 10 years, they're going to be broke. And we've had those people. I've actually fired those people as clients before. We have fired athletes and entertainers as clients not because they won't listen to me. They don't have to listen to me. I work for them. But if they're going to go bankrupt, I don't want to be there for it. And so we try and bring people along and build into their lives, not just financially. I mean, I want to make people money. That's true. But I also want to see you be successful financially so that you can do things like go on mission trips and give money away and support a cause that's important to you that will help people. I think that's really our mission in life, isn't just to make sure that I'm living in the lap of luxury. It's to bring people along, to give somebody else a chance that maybe we didn't have or that I did have and I want to give to somebody else. And it's why I'm more than willing to talk to young business owners about how to build their business, because Ray Sussel did it for me when I was a young business owner. He built into my life, and quite frankly, he's the only reason I'm still here in this business, is because he took the time to teach me. And so I want to return that favor every chance I get, if it's possible. So we do those things. And that's what I want you to be able to do. But you got to be financially savvy first. Okay, you got to be able to get there first. Now, I was the beneficiary of a wife. My wife worked a normal job that was secure. We had our health insurance through there early on in life. And so that was also beneficial. But I would be pumping gas right now if it wasn't for Ray. So, but I'd be the best at it. And I check your oil and your tire pressure and things like that. You used to be able to get your oil checked at a gas station. Well, we don't do that anymore. I mean, most people don't even check their oil. So you should get your oil changed in your car, 3,000 to 5,000 miles. And my cars tell me when to change the oil. So I'm past that point in my life. I'd rather pull into a place and have it changed in 5 minutes and not have to figure out where to put the oil it's just worth it to me. So, and my time. So that's the main difference between like these high echelon people that we work with and normal people, is the financially successful, the wealthy people among us. They tend to be long-term thinkers. They use debt to their advantage, and they're not always feeling a want, a desire. They'll let those things, they can wait on those things. Even the wealthiest people that we have, in fact, the wealthiest people that we have are the best people with money that we have. They live way under their budget. And I like that. I think that's a really positive thing, that money is not their main focus. Now you could say, well, that's easy because they have it. Well, you might be right. I'm not going to discount that, but when they didn't have it, they were the same way. And so that's how I want you to think. I want you to think long term. I want you to use credit to your advantage. I want you to have goals, short, medium, and long-term goals financially and for life. I think you got to be aiming at something. If you aim at nothing, that's exactly what you'll get. Nothing. So you got to be aiming someplace. And keeping money in perspective, I think, is really important. People strive so much to get money. If they just had $10,000 more, my life would be perfect. And then you get $10,000 more, and you think, if I just had $10,000 more. J.P. Morgan, who was one of the richer men and families of the early 1900s, was once asked, how much is enough? And he said, now remember, he was a multi-billionaire in the 1900s, early 1900s. He said, I don't know how much is enough, but I think it's just a little bit more than what I have. It's never going to be enough for some people. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. I am David Szafranski, and I want you at my book signing so I'm not lonely. I don't want to be lonely at the book signing. The book is great. I reread it last week, and I thought, you know what? I really like what I did here. I like it a lot. It sounds like me. There's things in the book that I say, so when people read it, they're like, it's like you're talking. I'm like, good, that's what I wanted. My next book might not be that way. I don't know if there's going to be a next book. But I want you at the book signing, so sign up, be there, September 4th. I am a real American, a true red-blooded, gun-owning patriot, and the voice you can trust.